Professor Painter, on May 5th of this year, you put out a tweet. You said, I'm going to quote, "There are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's the Supreme Court." Would you tell me which members of the Supreme Court you believe are bought?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, Patriots, to America First, the channel where we stand for truth, justice, and putting America first, always. If you love this country, if you value free speech, and if you're tired of the left's hypocrisy, then you've come to the right place. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. Let's get into it. All right, folks, today we're diving into a fiery exchange that took place in the Senate, an exchange that perfectly exposes the left's hypocrisy, their obsession with smearing good people, and their complete disregard for facts. We're talking about the video titled "You Tweeted It." John Kennedy has fiery brawl with Dem witness about his past tweets from Forbes Breaking News. If you haven't seen it yet, don't worry. I'm breaking it down for you right here.
I was particularly concerned at that point when I posted that tweet.
I understand, but if you could, I've got really limited time, and I apologize for interrupting. Just tell me which members of the court you are bought.
I did not think that Justice Clarence Thomas should be failing to disclose his trips on a billionaire's yacht and airplane.
Do you think he's bought?
I believe that there is grave risk.
Do you think he's bought?
I said there is grave risk.
Do you think he's bought?
To the confidence of the American people in our Supreme Court.
Well, if you don't think he's bought, why did you say it?
I said
yes,
that
you said members of the Supreme Court are bought. You're here testifying as an expert for my Democratic friends, and you're saying the members of the Supreme Court are bought?
I said when the American people feel that way, when we have Supreme Court justices
feel that way?
On yachts and in planes of billionaires and not being disclosed.
Anybody besides Justice Thomas you think is bought on the Supreme Court?
I believe that the court needs to clean
Anybody
up
besides
its
Justice
act.
Thomas?
I'm not going to go through each
I mean,
justice.
you tweeted it.
I tweeted the way the American people feel.
Did you mean it when you tweeted it?
And I stand by that tweet. This Supreme Court of the United States needs to clean up its
Let me ask you a couple others here, because you've on September 17, 2020, you tweeted, "It looks like Putin's favorite senator could lose," referring to Senator Lindsey Graham. Could you tell me your evidence for saying that Senator Graham is President Putin's favorite senator?
I don't recall that tweet and the story.
Well, I've got it. It's
tweeted
right
out.
here. It's right here.
I'm happy to look at the tweet, and I'm happy to write you, explain that. I don't know what that has to do with climate change.
Well, it has to do with your credibility. Did you say, what is your basis for saying that Senator Graham is President Putin's? I mean, have you ever talked to President Putin?
I have not talked to President Putin, and I would be happy to go look at the tweet and look at the story that I tweeted out and what Senator Graham had said in that context. You know, this is something
you say all this stuff. For example, you're here as an expert for my Democratic friends, and you say all this stuff. You called on September 16, 2023, a professor at the University of Chicago, very distinguished professor, Brian Leiter. You called him a racist. Can you explain to me why you think he's a racist?
I remember a series of tweets with him. He's a Marxist who put out a number of statements attacking African Americans and women. And he also was raising money for someone who had called the police on a black student for sleeping in the common room, and now has a wokekkk.com website attacking me.
That's fair enough.
So
fair enough.
I will just say one thing that I learned in high school debate, that when you have no argument, you simply change the subject.
All right. On October 15th of 2020, you said Lindsey Graham is soliciting cash payments in return for voting on a Supreme Court nomination. What evidence, that's a pretty bold statement, Professor. What evidence do you have for alleging that Senator Graham was taking cash in return for one of his votes?
I don't recall that specific tweet,
Here it
but
is,
I
right here.
do.
Here it
I
is.
do recall. And I
Do you think he
received-
was taking cash for one of his votes?
I have received campaign.
Do you think he was taking cash for one of his votes?
I'm answering your question, Senator. I have received solicitations from both political parties.
Do you think Lindsey Graham was taking cash for one of his votes? It's a simple question,
I have
Professor.
received cash, solicitations for cash on my email. And yes, from both political parties in connection with Supreme Court confirmation votes.
Well, I'm out of
It's
time,
wrong.
but let me just say for the record,
It's wrong.
my aunt's Facebook page has more credibility than you do. I could spend the rest of the day reading your quotes where you make allegations against people and you can't defend them.
You've said nothing about climate change. You quoted everybody from a Marxist
Senator
to
Kaine.
all sorts of other people. This has absolutely nothing to do with the topic of the hearing, Senator.
Now, let me set the stage. Senator John Kennedy, a true patriot and one of the sharpest voices in the Senate, absolutely dismantled Professor Richard Painter, a so-called expert brought in by the Democrats. The hearing was supposed to be about climate change, but instead, the Democrats decided to trot out Painter to spew baseless accusations about Republicans, the Supreme Court, and anyone they personally dislike. This, my friends, is what the left does. They distract from real issues with inflammatory rhetoric and personal attacks. First off, Senator Kennedy called Painter out for a tweet where he claimed members of the Supreme Court are bought. That's right, bought. Now, if you're going to accuse the highest court in the land of corruption, you'd better have rock-solid evidence, right? But what did Painter do when Kennedy asked for specifics? He dodged. He stammered. He refused to name a single justice, except to vaguely imply that Justice Clarence Thomas is somehow corrupt because of some trips he took. No evidence. No proof. Just insinuations and innuendo. Typical leftist tactics. Exactly, Senator Kennedy. Why did he say it? Because the left isn't interested in truth. They're interested in smearing anyone who doesn't bow to their agenda. Justice Clarence Thomas is a principled constitutionalist, and that terrifies the left. So what do? They attack his character. It's disgusting. But it gets worse. Painter also tweeted that Senator Lindsey Graham is Putin's favorite senator. Are you kidding me? This is straight out of the Democrat playbook. Throw out some wild accusation about Russia and hope it sticks. When Kennedy asked Painter for evidence, what did he say? I don't recall that tweet. Folks, you can't make this stuff up. He didn't even remember his own tweet. And then he tries to claim it was based on some story he read? That's not evidence, it's slander. Plain and simple. This is the problem with the left's so-called experts. They don't care about facts or credibility. They just want to push their narrative, no matter how ridiculous or baseless it is. And then there's the part where Painter called a distinguished University of Chicago professor a racist. Why? Because he disagreed with him politically. Painter claimed this professor made racist statements and was somehow connected to a website attacking Painter. Again, no proof, just accusations. This is what the left does, folks. If you disagree with them, they don't argue with facts or logic. They call you a racist, a sexist, or some other label to shut you down. It's disgusting, and we're not going to stand for it. Now, here's where it really gets laughable. Painter accused Senator Lindsey Graham of soliciting cash payments in return for voting on a Supreme Court nomination. This is a huge accusation, right? So Kennedy asked him for evidence. What did Painter say? He claimed it was about campaign fundraising emails that both parties send out. So let me get this straight. Campaign emails are now evidence of corruption? Give me a break. This is just another baseless smear designed to attack Republicans and distract from the real issues. And then, Senator Kennedy delivered the line of the day. He told Painter, and I quote, "My aunt's Facebook page has more credibility than you do." Boom. That's how you handle a leftist who has nothing but empty accusations and zero evidence. Kennedy exposed Painter as a partisan hack brought in by the Democrats to smear Republicans and distract from the hearing's actual topic, climate change. That's right, Senator Kennedy. Call them out for what they are, liars and smear merchants. The American people deserve better than this nonsense. Let me tell you something, patriots. This hearing wasn't about climate change. It wasn't about justice or truth. It was about pushing the left's agenda and smearing anyone who stands in their way. Professor Painter is just another tool in their toolbox, a partisan operative who throws out wild accusations without a shred of evidence. But Senator Kennedy wasn't having it, and neither are we. America deserves leaders who care about facts and solutions, not baseless smears and political theater. That's why channels like this are so important. We're here to call out the lies, defend the truth, and put America first. If you're tired of the left's lies, if you're proud to stand for truth and freedom, then join the America First family. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with your friends. Let's grow this movement and show the left that we're not backing down. Thanks for watching, and as always, God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.